Okay, I'm live here at the Thompson Foundation in London, where we're running one of our video training boot camps. All the people have left. It's 6 o'clock here, but I want to take a minute to talk to you about an aspect of training that I think is really important, an aspect of video that I think is really important, and that's the relationship to photography. Television has been, although it's a visual medium, it doesn't pay a great deal of attention to the visuals, and that's largely because of the technology up until now. These giant cameras were difficult to manipulate. They sat on tripods. You kind of pointed them at the thing, and you walked away, and we never really paid attention to the visuals. One of the things I've been trying to do for the last 30 years is to change the nature of the way that television journalism or video journalism looks. And I'm trying to get closer and closer to photography all the time. While we're here at the Thompson Foundation running the boot camp, I have my little Leica. It's my favorite little camera. And if you've worked with it, you're probably familiar with it. This was a game changer in the world of photojournalism because it allowed journalists for the first time to be mobile and to kind of go into close situations. And it took photography from being very static with the view camera, sort of a stiff craft, to a high art form. As you probably know, we're on top of the Museum of Modern Art. We're in New York, and the museum was the first place to actually give photojournalism the credit of being an art form with the Family of Man show in 1961. So what we try to do now that we're shooting with little cameras and actually iPhones is to take video journalism to the place that photojournalism was taken to some 50-odd years ago because of the nature of the technology changing. Now, many years ago, almost 30 years ago, I formed a company called Video News International, which was the first organized sort of conglomeration of video journalists around the world. We ultimately had about 100 VJs working for us, producing news pieces, but all as video journalists. They were kind of like a magnum for video. My first investor was a guy named Nick Nicholas, and he had been the chairman and CEO of Time Life magazines. And when he heard the idea, he got it right away because he understood we could potentially do for television and video what Magnum had done and Time Life magazine had done for photojournalism. That is, take it from being this representational thing to kind of an art form and a powerful force for journalism. So when he invested, he was the first investor I had in VNI, Video News International. Right after he invested, he walked me down the hall to the offices of Time Life magazine and introduced me to all the great Life magazine photographers who they were getting rid of because Life magazine was dying because of competition from television. And he said, here are your people. So I had the privilege of my first group of VJs were some of the finest photojournalists in the world. And they brought with them fantastic eyes and this knowledge, this ability to, their whole lives they'd taken these Leicas and sort of worked rooms with Leicas, and now I wanted them to work rooms with little video cameras, and it actually worked because in our first year out, we won the National Emmy for cinematography. So the concept actually was there. Now, this all would have been great, except technology rolls on and it takes away as it gives. This is this creative destruction thing. So I became very friendly with a lot of these photojournalists, and in particular P.F. Bentley, who I still love to this day. He was Time magazine's White House photographer and one of the most brilliant photojournalists I ever met. He was, of course, making a fantastic living as a photojournalist, and because he was on the cutting edge of photography, he got all his new toys from Canon, who was his big supplier. And so one day he called me up and he said he got this brand new thing called a digital camera from Canon. Everybody shot film in those days. And he wanted to come with me, and there was some political event going on with Clinton, who was his big buddy, and he'd done the White House with Clinton for years, and he said, come on, I'm going to come and go do a shoot. So we went to this political event, and there were all these guys sitting on the stage, and PF and I were, in the front row because he was a photographer, and then he took the Canon, instead of working it like this, he held it up over his head and just went like this and pushed the button. Now, normally, with film photography, you took 36 exposures, and you had to be very careful with each shot and plan it. But suddenly, with this new digital thing, he could just hold it up and hold the button down and fire off, 100 shots. And I said, don't you have to look through the viewfinder? He said, no, it's automatic focus. And I said, what about, planning the shot? He goes, there'll be a good one in there somewhere. Well, after the thing was over, we went back to his hotel room, and I'd never seen anything like this before. He connected his camera to the laptop. It was one of the earlier laptops, and there were all the 100 or 200 or 300 or 1,000 exposures he'd done. And sure enough, there was, one or two that he circled, and I guess he sent them off to Time magazine or whatever newspaper he was doing this for, and he was done. And he said, "See that? There you go." And I looked at him, I said, "It's the end of your career." I said, "What are you talking about? It's the end of my career." I said, "If you can do that, anybody can do it." Well, of course, that's what happens with digital photography. It turns out that you could shoot 1 million exposures and anybody could do it. And suddenly 1 billion people were out making photographs. And today, I don't know, you get 5 million photographs uploaded to Instagram every hour, or whatever the thing is. And of course, the notion of being a photojournalist, there's still a business, but it's contracted and contracted and contracted because anybody could do it. Well, the same kind of thing is happening with video now. In the old days, a network had these giant cameras and they cost $100,000, and only an employee of NBC or CBS could have the temerity, and not to mention the technology, to go out and make television and make video and make films. Well, we say technology giveth and technology taketh away. It tooketh away the notion of being a professional photojournalist, and it's going to take away the notion of being a professional cameraman. That's just dead. It's just an inevitable consequence of technology. But it also opens the door to changing the nature of what video journalism means. It no longer means sticking this giant camera on a tripod and panning the room or, doing these stills and stuff like that. It now means that everyone has the potential to hold on, to grasp this new piece of technology, these amazing phones and other things, and to take control of the content. In other words, we no longer have to surrender television journalism or video journalism to a couple of employees of some big corporate medias that really have, their own agenda in mind. And this is the democratization of the medium. That's why we're here at the Thompson Foundation running these boot camps, and that's why we're going to do another one in New York in October, and that's why we set up the VJ.com, because we are big proponents of democratizing video. But we want to create powerful, quality video. And as we put these tools in everyone's hands, it's important that we don't just end up with 1 million cats in trees or some crappy video where you wave the camera around. And we can I really believe that we can do for video what the Leica did for photography. That is, democratize it, put it in creative people's hands because you cut the cost, but also change the structure and the way the thing works. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's all I got to say today, and now we're going to dinner. But stay in touch, and we'll be back with more. We're going to be in England all week. Well, we're going to be in London all week, and then back to Dale Abbey, and back to New York, I don't know, a couple of weeks. But I'll talk to you later.